Quran, Hadith and Islam Part 3. The idolization of Muhammad. Refusing to believe God in his repeated assertions that the Quran is complete, perfect, and shall be the only source of religious guidance, and following the conjecture known as Hadith and Sunnah constitutes deification of the Prophet Muhammad against his will. Say, O Muhammad, if the ocean were inked for the words of my Lord, the ocean would have run out before my Lord runs out of words, even if we supplied twice as much ink. Say, O Muhammad, I am no more than a human being like you. It has been revealed to me that your God is one God. Thus, anyone who looks forward to meeting his Lord shall lead a righteous life, and never set up any idols beside his Lord. 109 and 110. These verses clearly inform us that God does not suffer from shortage of words, that he gave us all the words we need in this Quran, and that we should not seek the words of Muhammad, or anyone else, and that Muhammad is a man like other men, he should not be idolized. See end of verse. Quran, you shall not idolize Muhammad. There are only 2 verses in Quran that describe the Prophet Muhammad as no more than a human being like you. Is it coincidence that both verses forbid idolatry at the end of each verse? The first verse was shown previously, and here is the second verse. Say, O Muhammad, I am no more than a human being like you. It has been revealed to me that your God is one God. Therefore, you shall observe him alone, and ask his forgiveness, and woe to the idol worshippers. 41:6 The true believers believe their Lord in his statements that Quran is complete, perfect, fully detailed, and shall be the sole source of religious guidance. Only the idol worshippers will seek other than Quran. Following, Hadith and Sunnah is idolization of the Prophet Muhammad against his will. The abuse of Quran. God and his angels encourage the Prophet. O you who believe, you too shall encourage him, and support him completely. 33:56 This is by far the most abused verse in the whole Quran. Through satanic distortions, ignorance, and idol worship, this verse causes millions of Muslims to glorify the Prophet against his will, instead of glorifying God. People who sing the praises of this particular verse day and night are obviously ignorant of 2 important facts. 1. The word Nabi Prophet, when referring to the Prophet Muhammad, always refers to him when he was alive, not after his death. 2. In the same surah, and 13 verses ahead of this verse, we find that God and his angels do the same honoring for all the believers. God and his angels encourage the believers to take them out of darkness into the light. 33:43 The abuse of Quran. Verse 103 of Surah 9 further clarifies the meaning of the words Salu and Yusali. In this verse, we see that the Prophet is commanded to Yusali for the believers, just as they are asked to do for him in verse 56 of Surah 33. Take, O Muhammad, a portion of their money for charity, in order to purify them and sanctify them, and encourage them. Sali alayhim, for your encouragement is a consolation for them. God is hearer, omniscient. 9:103. Thus, the true meaning of this expression is encourage, and not praise day and night, as those who abuse the Quran have indicated. Summary. 1. God and his angels encourage the believers to take them out of darkness into the light. 33:43. 2. God and his angels encourage the Prophet during his life to keep him on the right path. 33:56. 3. The believers are asked to support the Prophet during his life. 33:56, and the Prophet is the same for the believers. 9:103. The abuse of Quran. In the Messenger of God, you have a good example for those who are seeking God and the last day, and commemorate God frequently. 33:21 Satan used this verse to claim a special status for the idolization of Muhammad, and to convince the people of the necessity of Sunnah, traditions of the Prophet. There is no doubt that the Prophet Muhammad is our best example, and his example is set by upholding Quran, and nothing but Quran. Obviously, Those who fell in Satan's trap are ignorant of the fact that Abraham is described in Quran in the same words, word for word. In Abraham and those who believe with him, you have a good example. For those who are seeking God and the last day. 64:6. Does God hate Muhammad? Of course not. But when you repeat the same thing that God says about Muhammad in Quran, they accuse you of hating Muhammad. Similarly, when you tell the Christians that Jesus is a human being and a messenger of God, they accuse you of hating Jesus. Muhammad cannot guide anyone. 28:56. You, Muhammad, cannot guide even the ones you love. God is the one who guides whomever he wills, for he knows best those who deserve the guidance. 28:56. The sole function of the Prophet was to deliver Quran without any alteration, addition, reduction, or explanation. The true love of Muhammad, the true love of Jesus, is to recognize him as a human and a messenger of God. The Christians love Jesus so much, yet he disowns them on the day of judgment, Matthew 7:23 and Quran 5:116. The true love of Muhammad is to recognize him as a human and to follow his teachings, i.e., uphold Quran and nothing but Quran. Those who follow Hadith and Sunnah are named as Muhammad's enemies, and Muhammad disowns them on the day of judgment. As we see below, on the day of judgment the messenger will say, "My Lord, my people have deserted this Quran. We thus set up against every prophet enemies from among the guilty. Your Lord suffices as a guide and supporter." 25:30-31. Please note the word-for-word similarity between verse 31 above and verse 112 of Surah 6, which deals specifically with Hadith. God is the one who created you. God is the one who provides for you. God is the one who terminates your life. God is the one who resurrects you. God is the one who calls you to account. Muhammad does none of these things. See 30:40. Muhammad does not know the future. Say, "O Muhammad, I do not bring anything new that is different from any other messenger. I have no idea what may happen to me, or to you. I simply follow what is revealed to me. I am no more than a manifest warner." 46:9. Say, "O Muhammad, I possess no power to benefit or harm even myself, except in accordance with God's will. Nor do I know the future. Had I known the future, I would have increased my wealth, and no harm would have afflicted me. I am no more than a warner, as well as bearer of good news for those who believe." 7:188. Muhammad does not know the future. Yet, hundreds of hadiths narrate future events that have nothing to do with Quran, and represent personal predictions. One of the most prominent hadiths is shown below: "You shall uphold my sunnah traditions, and the sunnah of the guided Khulafas al-Khulafa al-Rashidin who will come after me." It should be noted that the expression al-Khulafa al-Rashidin did not appear in Arabic literature until 200 years after the Prophet. It is a modern expression. How did the Prophet know that there will be Khulafa who will succeed him, and how did he know that they will be called al-Khulafa al-Rashidin? The expression al-Khulafa al-Rashidin refers specifically to the four Khulafas Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. It was not known for 2 centuries after the Prophet. The myth of intercession. Intercession is one of Satan's most effective tricks to dupe the people into idolizing their prophets and/or saints. Although the Quran repeatedly states that there will be no intercession on the Day of Judgment, many Muslims were duped, through Hadith and Sunnah, into idolizing the Prophet Muhammad against his will, and inventing the concept of intercession. Shafawa, "Spend from our provisions to you before a day comes wherein there will be no trade, no nepotism, and no intercession." 254. The prophets simply follow the commandments of God. He knows their past and future. They cannot intercede except on behalf of those already saved by God. The prophets themselves worry about their own fate. 21:28.